Welcome back, student. This is your fourth lecture, sort of to finish off the topic of price elasticity and cross price elasticity. So, to summarize these two concepts of price elasticity and cross price elasticity, we always must understand the context. Elasticity is talking about the changes of a quantity of a good in relation to the changes in price. Now we measure the elasticity of goods because we want to decode the good supply because we want to see the relationship between that good and price. So it studies the relationship between price and quantity. It measures the sensitivity or the elasticity of the quantity demanded in terms to a change of price. So you would note that the formula is there. You would note that different goods have different sort of elasticity, perfectly elastic. This means that it will always be less than one. An increase in the price will result in a small change in demand. So this type of good is not reactive to changes in price, relatively inelastic. All right, perfectly inelastic. An increase in price has no effect on the good. So this is a good where normally the product is a monopoly, a manufacturer has a monopoly. For instance, the classical example of PNG is PNG Power. No matter how much they increase the power for 1 unit or easy pay, you will still buy it because of the fact that that good is perfectly inelastic and PNG Power is a monopoly. When you talk about unitary elastic, this means that a change in price is equal to change in quantity demanded. When calculated, the PED will always be equal to 1. Demand moves with price. This is unitary elastic. And then you would note the relatively inelastic. These are goods that have many substitutes, for instance, tea and coffee or canned drinks, all this type of goods. And the fifth one, perfectly elastic. This is more or less a utopian abstract concept. It does not exist in real life. And then I've given you a graph there. So these are very important topics that might come in the exam. So please study it. And then we also looked at the determinants of price. Price basically can be determined by certain determinants or the certain sort of factors that we have there. You would see that if there are a lot of substitutes available to the consumer, then the price elasticity of the good is likely to be relatively elastic. This is due to the fact that if the price of the good increases, then consumers can easily switch to another good and it is now cheaper and performs a similar function. So if the price of Coca-Cola is increased, then the percentage decrease in quantity demanded is likely to be greater than the percentage increase in price. This is because Coca-Cola customers can easily switch to their consumption to Pepsi as it's a similar product. So the price of Coke goes up, the demand for Pepsi, quantity demanded will go up as well, because Coke, the substitute for Coke is Pepsi. The other thing is the nature of that determines price is the nature of the commodity, whether it's expensive or inexpensive. Say a 50% increase in flour balls that costs 10 there will be different from a 50% increase in a car like a Toyota 5-door, which costs 250,000. You will feel the brunt of the price increase because 10% of a minimal amount is not the same as 10% of a huge amount. So that's what we mean by the nature of the commodity is basically a determinant, or the nature of the commodity basically is a price determinant. All right, and then luxury or necessity, whether the good is a luxurious good or whether the good is a necessary good. Luxury goods are not essential in achieving basic standard of living for an individual. For example, designer clothes would not be considered essential. However, when you come to look at needs, you would see that it's essential. So as a result, the price elasticity of demand for these products would be relatively elastic. Therefore, if the price of good increases, then the consumer may change consumer habits to include these goods they cannot do without. So people have a lot of money, rappers, millionaires, footballers, superstars, they can afford this. But normal individuals in the market, you will see that if the price of a luxury item keeps on going up and going up, they can settle for something less. So for instance, about owning an iPhone and trying to fork out 12,000 kina or just buying a 500 kina normal Samsung good and enjoying the benefits of that Samsung good. So these are the things that we look at. These are the things that we sort of try to get our heads around. And these are the basics of what we know today as elasticity. All right, then that's the price elasticity itself. there's another topic that comes within it, and that's cross price elasticity. Cross price because you're measuring across the spectrum between different goods and their counterpart. You either measure it with substitute goods, like for instance tea and coffee, or you measure it with complementary goods, like phone and apps, or like bread and butter. So when you do that, you would come to the conclusion that in terms of cross price elasticity, you would note that substitute goods, basically what happened in substitute goods is that the product that is the same as the uh, similar enough to another product, put substitute goods that can be used in a place or another. Substitute goods will always have a positive cross elasticity of demand. That means that it's going to be greater than one. It be elastic. This is because when increase in price of supplementary good, for instance, increase in the price of coffee, will ensure that there's an increase in the demand for a supplementary good. Right? And then you have complementary goods. It's where it applies as well.